Hey guys, it's Sebastian from Skycom Solutions, and today we're talking all about different display cables. So in front of me here, I have a whole bunch of different display cables, adapters. I have an Hdmi splitter, DVI, VGA, Displayport, mini Displayport, Displayport to HDMI, micro HDMI, mini HDMI. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of cables in front of me here, and we're going to go through each one and give you a little brief description on what they can do and what they work with on your PC. So let's start with something that's easy, that everyone's used to, and that's the good old HDMI cable. Let's just untangle it there from everything else. So the HDMI cable is a standard video cable that works across the board with most computers and monitors. If you've gotten a monitor within the past 5-10 years, chances are it's going to have an HDMI port on the back of it, as well as a computer in the past 10 years or even more sometimes. They're going to have an HDMI on it as well. Output, it looks like this. You can get them into lengths up to 50 feet. Once you go past 50 feet, the signal can kind of drop and sometimes not work. They do sell HDMI cables that do go 100 feet, but they have a booster in the middle of the cable. So you need to boost the signal in order to reach those kind of distances. So that's the HDMI cable. And now, because we have the HDMI cable out, you're going to notice I have a little adapter here for an HDMI. So a full-size HDMI fits into here, just like so. We'll just plug that in, just like that. You don't want to force it any more than that. HDMI cables usually only go in that far. And then we have a mini HDMI. So these ones are used on certain smaller devices like tablets, like certain portable monitors take a mini HDMI, and even a majority of the camera equipment that we're using here in studio uses a mini HDMI to get the camera signal to the recording software. So that's what this is mainly used for. There's another version of HDMI that's even smaller than this one, and that's a micro HDMI. That's even smaller and is used on still some portable monitors and some camera equipment. So if you're using a micro or mini HDMI, you can get adapters like these to adapt them to the full size so that you can get from your laptop into the monitor, or you can go the other way, or you can get a micro HDMI adapter as well. They also come in full-length cables, so you can get a micro HDMI to full-size HDMI and cut out the middleman in this adapter and be able to just run one single cable across to the device. So that's HDMI. The one thing else I'll show you with HDMI is we have an HDMI splitter here in front of me. So this takes an HDMI input, then it splits it into the two of the same outputs right on top there. You can see that there. So this is used for when you want to see two of the same signal on two different monitors. A good thing to use for this is if you have, say, in your family room, a computer or a laptop, and you want it to go to a monitor on a desk, but you also want to watch TV or Netflix and split that signal that way, an HDMI splitter can come in handy. They do have to be powered, so it just takes a little 5-volt DC power, and you can plug that into your wall, and it'll split your signal for you. And then this is a good time to transition to some analog connections. So this is a DVI to HDMI adapter. So we can take our HDMI cable that we've set aside here, we can plug that in just like so, and then this goes into your computer. So if you have an older computer, it might have DVI still on it. This is still an analog version of connecting. It has, you can see, a whole bunch of analog pins in there that specifically send the different colors and different information to the monitor. So some monitors even still have DVI, and you can get DVI to DVI cables. I just don't have one here in front of me today because it is pretty outdated. And again, if you have a DVI setup, you're probably going to want to update that monitor because it is very old school. But if you're an old school person, you can still buy DVI cables. They still make them, and they probably will make them for a very long time. So you're able to still get a signal from your monitor. And you can also, again, adapt it to HDMI very simply, and it can go and work with newer monitors. So that is the DVI to HDMI. The next one I have here is a Displayport to HDMI. So the only major difference between HDMI and Displayport is Displayport has a lot more power and data transfer speed behind it, and it can do a little bit more than an HDMI can. When you plug this into the back of a monitor, and that monitor has USB plugs in the side or the top of it, you might have seen this before on your monitor on, say, for example, the side of it here. It has a bunch of USB, 2.0, 3.0 plugs in it. And you're saying, how do I use that? How do I access this if I've run out of ports on my actual PC or laptop? Well, if you're using a Displayport, you can transfer the data across. Now, my recommendation is to use a Displayport to Displayport instead of an adapter, because the adapters can sometimes stop that data, because in HDMI, again, the difference, an HDMI does not transfer that data. It only does video and audio. A Displayport cable is just an upgrade from the HDMI cable, and an HDMI cable is able to transfer speeds, resolutions up to 4K. So that's Ultra HD 4K. A Displayport can now transfer resolution up to 8K. The only difference between an HDMI and a Displayport is, well, the shape. So you can see that it's a slightly different shape, but also that if you're transferring different resolutions of video to your monitor, an HDMI is only capable of doing 4K Ultra HD. And I say only because resolutions have only gotten better with technology, and that means that this Displayport cable can transfer resolutions up to 8K. So if you're looking to get that really crisp image, the Displayport cable is one for you, and it also transfers data. You don't have to worry about not utilizing the USB inputs on your monitor. You can use it with a Displayport cable. So that's Displayport, HDMI. And then I have the Displayport to HDMI adapter. So I think I briefly mentioned this before, but if you're using this, you're not going to be able to transfer data like you would from your monitor via the USB. You're going to need a separate USB cable to your monitor for that, because you need a Displayport to Displayport to transfer data, and that is through USB. It will still transfer picture and visuals to the monitor, but it won't take the USB inputs. So you have to make sure that you have a USB 2.0, 3.0 adapter to your computer for that to work. Now, more Displayport things happening. Of course, they had to make a mini Displayport. So you can see the mini Displayport is way smaller than the original Displayport, but does the same thing, does the same amount of resolution of 8K. This is a mini Displayport to HDMI adapter. So you can get mini Displayport to mini Displayport. You can get mini Displayport to full-size Displayport. There are many different options. I just have this one for an example today, because most people on their computers will have a mini Displayport nowadays. If you've got a computer in 2020 or 2019 even, you're going to have a mini Displayport on there, and you probably need to go to an HDMI monitor. So this cable's usually the one you want to go with. And then last but not least, well, it is kind of least now that I've described all those settings, we have the VGA. And the VGA, my experience with it was in school, connecting a projector to a teacher's laptop and making sure that all the pins were right and lined up straight, because you can see in there's a whole bunch of pins that could bend. And this is an analog way of transferring visual data to a monitor or a projector. And it's old school for sure. It still definitely works. If you have a VGA input on your monitor and an output on your computer, you can definitely make it happen. It definitely still will work. But you have things to worry about, like little pins and you have to also screw in the VGA into your computer, which I'm laughing. It's funny. It was probably not funny to you if you're from a different generation and you've used these exclusively. So if you're seeing a VGA port on the back of your computer, if you're seeing a VGA port on your monitor, chances are you're going to want to upgrade those systems. Or maybe it's just you need to upgrade your video card in your computer. But these will still work. They're great. They're reliable. Just got to watch the pins inside of them not to bend them. And you got to make sure it's screwed in all the way. So we've gone over VGA, HDMI, Displayport, DVI. There are so many different options, and I don't have them in front of me here today, but you can find USB-C now to HDMI, USB-C to DisplayPort input. And they've come out with a whole line of different docking stations as well. So if you're interested in, on your computer, you might not have all the same ports that you want. You can get a USB-C to a docking station, and then that docking station has a DisplayPort, an HDMI, a mini DisplayPort on it. So you're able to add more monitors to a laptop. And we explain more about that in a different video that I'll put in the description below. So I hope you learned something about cables today. There's a whole bunch of different options. It's very easy to get overwhelmed, and we at SkyComp understand that. SkyComp is a managed service provider that provides IT for businesses with 10 to 100 employees. If that fits your bill, if that fits your category, we'd be happy to help out. You can reach out to us at skycomp.ca/contact. For more information, to read more about this topic of cables, you can head on over to skycomp.ca/learn and read and watch more videos and content about a whole wide variety of technology topics. If you'd like to watch other videos about solving technology, you can click over here. And if you'd like to watch other videos about Microsoft Teams or other topics like that, you can click over here. Thanks for watching.